So is it the biggest project you've done to date, would
Yeah,
you
I
say?
would say so.
All right, welcome everyone. We are back for a very special episode of Making the Grade. This is episode 13, which is unlucky for some, but clearly not for Martyn, because if you look over behind him in the back of his room, you will see that amazing display case. Let's just have a quick recap on what the whole idea of this series is. It's Martyn's collecting a graded run of the original 96 Kenner Star Wars figures. He's now on 54 figures, with his average from last time, it's been a little while, but his average rising from £89.20 on average per figure, going up to £91.30 on average.
God.
So that's good. He picked up a Yoda and Bespin Luke last time out, so that didn't help.
No.
Go back and check the last episode out if you haven't already. However, this week we are focusing on how Martyn will display these figures, and to help us out with that, we've brought in the man who does it best. We've got Drew from Collector Displays. How's it going,
Drew?
How are
Drew?
you doing?
Oh, good, yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, you've built this amazing display case for Martyn.
Yeah.
Before we get to that, I mean, Martyn probably will be able to tell you, or tell the viewers how it all came to be.
Yeah, I think I don't know if Drew remembers it this way, but basically, I've known about Collector Displays. We've never met before Echo Base last year, but I've known about Collector Displays for years, and I think anybody who collects Star Wars figures and wants to display them, knows about your company. But we were walking around Echo Base. It was at the September Echo Base, and we got to your table, and you had a collector case there that you were selling, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, it held 48 graded figures, was it?
Yeah, that's right. It was basically it was my first kind of dipping my toe into doing something for graded, because people have been asking about it for such a long time, and I knew it was going to be a bit of a beast. So what I did was decided to start off with an existing case, basically the same size as this one,
Yeah.
But which just had, I think it was like 4 shelves in it. So it could take a lot of figures, but it wasn't trying to be anything it wasn't. It was never going to take a whole run.
No.
And as we found out since, Martyn, there's some this shape, some that shape, some that are deep, some that aren't. So it's taken a while to get it perfect, but I think we are actually there now. So yeah, that first one you saw was a bit of an experiment.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. And I literally saw it, and I looked at Adam when I saw it, and I said, "Oh, Adam, I'm buying this now." I was already pulling my credit card out, not caring what my wife was going to say when I got home.
Yeah.
And Adam said, "Oh, but it doesn't fill the 96. What's the point? You're gonna have to get a couple of them." So I was like, "That's a good point." So then I walked around and had a chat with you, and asked, are you thinking of ever doing one for the 96? And you kind of explained if there was enough interest, I think you were up for doing one. And I think when we spoke later that day, I wasn't the only one who'd come over and inquired about.
No, there was, somebody actually bought it, the one that was there. And then lots of other people were asking about, was I ever going to do one for the full run? And it was always a bit daunting, because I knew how big it was going to have to be, which then suddenly it starts in my head. I'm thinking, right, how am I going to transport this? How much is it going to cost to get one to the US, and all that kind of stuff goes through my head, because I'm thinking long term. And as it happens, since you first posted about this on Instagram, was it yesterday or the day before? I can't remember.
Yeah, yesterday.
I've got, the Padawan collector's gonna have one.
Amazing.
Which will, I think that, because as soon as he's got anything, it means everyone in the US wants one. So I'm gonna have to make it transportable. So what I'm probably gonna do for international, or anything that's gonna be delivered standard, is I'm gonna lose that face panel. The whole reason for the face panel on the standard cases like this one is for UV protection. But what you've got with the grading cases is you've got that UV protection already. So it's kind of a really nice to have, but it adds a massive amount of onto the overall cost, because it's actually the most expensive element of that.
Yeah.
So it's a very nice to have, but I think what I could do is almost have like a strip around the edge that goes on rather than the full screen.
Yeah. You
and that way,
magnetized. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that way, when it transports it, it's not going to smash to pieces, which is almost certainly what would happen with that face panel. Because I think the thing is, once it goes over about 4 foot, it tends to get mishandled quite a lot and chucked around because of it being so heavy. So you kind of trying to keep that in one piece just be very difficult.
Yeah, no, I mean, when the courier turned up with it yesterday, obviously, you know, this, as people who've probably watched before our channel before, you sent me, the original one you sent me was kind of your prototype, and I thought, wow, that's big, and then this one turned up, and you know, you know, as you said earlier, it needs to be that big in order to fit the full run, and you know, the way you've done it now is it won't just fit, you know, UKG, it will fit every single grading company's figure now. So, you know, it's and you can, the way you've done it is where you can, you know, obviously you've got them in release order on there, but I think in most cases you can, you know, can switch up and down, you know, not necessarily the really large ones, but you know, you can have it in the order you particularly want it.
Because I think the other thing is you can get so you can get slightly different grading cases for a figure. You might have one where, like a Luke Stormy, for example, you might have one where the helmet goes above, or one where it's next to it. So it had to be a little bit more flexible. And I think what we've done now is, I think you've got kind of like a couple of shelves at a standard height, which will take most. Then you've got one that's a lot deeper. And it goes normal again. And then towards the bottom of the case, they're actually deeper and higher.
That's right.
So you can get those really big ones like a Man and the Hanning Carbonite, all those ones in there as well. And like you say, you can swap around the order because they're all the names are on magnetic. So
that's right. And then there's a few extra spots at the bottom. So if you want to do a figure focus, which is great because I'm thinking of Jedi Luke, you know, figure focus. So you know, that's gonna be perfect for me. So I can add. I've got those extra few spaces if I need them for that. Just out of interest, you know, I don't know if anyone else would probably want to know, but if you wanted to, you know, purchase the nameplate separately, is that something you would provide extra if someone got in touch with you? Or
yes, it's difficult because it's basically I print them as one big sheet.
So you need to get rid of all of them,
so
I suppose.
It would need to be kind of, I think what I'll probably do is I'll end up adding to the standard ones that I do, so that every time I do a print run, I've got a few spares, like Blue Snag and you know, the other ones that aren't in that standard 96.
Yeah. Thank God the Blue Snaggle tooth isn't in there.
Yeah.
This, as you probably heard at the beginning, my running total's not too bad at the moment on average per figure, but I haven't reached any of the beasts yet. So
I think Blue Snag would kind of ruin it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, just a bit. I was chatting to someone the other day about the pop-up R2D2, the lightsaber pop-up R2D2. Oh my God. I can't even fathom where I'm going to start with that one, but anyway.
Have you set yourself a minimum grade score?
Initially, I said a minimum grade score of 85 UKG, and, an 80 plus
dropped a little bit.
80 plus on AFA. I don't have any CAS for some bizarre reason. I just haven't, you know, picked any CAS up. But I literally, there's a chap. I don't know if you've heard the company. Oh, help me out, Adam. I only buy from Wrigley.
Another League.
Another League Toys,
Who
still sell graded toys, and they're always at Echo Base, and they do me really good deals. And you know, he said to me, "Look, you can get some 80s and some 75s that look absolutely fantastic." So there's quite a few on there at the moment that we haven't done episodes. We're quite behind on really catching up on them. So I've actually purchased a few more now that are lower grades because, as you quite rightly are probably intimating, doing them at 85 is just, it's not
for
reasonable
all
or
of them, yeah.
realistic.
And I
Yeah.
think the thing is, it's probably going to work for you in a lot of ways that people, when they first start collecting mocks, I mean, I'm personally only just starting collecting mocks, and I'm not going for anything that's going to, blow your socks off. I've got quite a few Jedi cards with yellow bubbles. I've got, some that have got a little ding in the corner. And what I'll probably do once I've got a lot of them is I'll get rid of 3 to replace one with a really nice one.
Yeah. No, it's a good idea, and I probably could have saved a bit of money at the beginning, but you go into these things with good intentions, I suppose.
Yeah.
But no, I'm the same. I've only got 6 or 7 mocks, but they're not, none of them are perfect. Some of them are creased, yellow bubbled. But it's just nice to have them on display. I think
Absolutely,
it just takes you back to the day, doesn't it?
It does, mate. Yeah.
As a kid. And
with regards to the 96 graded case, is it something that's sort of garnered much interest before, and before Echo Base came about, and did you have a sort of clear idea in your head
To
on
be
how
honest,
you wanted it to look?
Since I started selling a lot of cases, I've been asked about it probably once a week.
Oh wow!
By someone,
Yeah.
And I've always gone back with it being that I've got an idea and I know how I want to do it, but it's taken such a long time to get it right, and it's a massive amount of expense to get it right as well. So I had to make sure that financially I was in the right position to do it. Because I mean, getting to this stage, I've probably invested 5 to 10 grand getting it right.
Wow.
But we are there now, so
excellent.
Hopefully I'll sell some and get some money back.
Yeah,
I'm sure you will. I can't see it. I can't see that being an issue. But
I mean, I've just through putting it on Instagram, some of the the messages on there, because you put out a reel as well, didn't you? And it's been an absolute hit from what I've seen comments wise. So I'm sure those orders will be rolling in, mate. Absolutely.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So is it the biggest project you've done to date?
Yeah, I would say so.
Other
than the developing, I don't know if you know about the modular cases that I do, the smaller tabletop cases. I invested quite a lot of time and money getting those right as well, because those I keep in stock. So I've got masses and masses of those in the workshop. But that's kind of, as a one single project, definitely I would say this is the biggest today. Yeah. And I don't know whether you saw, but when I was building this one, I had to put an extension on the side of my workbench because it was I couldn't actually get the sides on on my normal workbench. So
I was going to ask if you could send me the pictures over, so when I edit this, I'll whack them in so people can see, because I think you put it on Instagram, but it was absolutely ginormous.
I will do, mate. I'll send you some images over.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be fantastic.
So, and Martyn, did you send that out flat packed to Martyn, and then Martyn has to build it like with your other display cases? Or
no, I built that one. Just because it was the first one, I wanted to make sure it was absolutely bang on. And I also need to, as part of kind of getting it ready to go flat pack, I need to go through the whole process so that I can make an instruction set for people. Because you can't really see from here, but it's a series of very small acrylic shelves.
Right.
That then have a strip on the front. And you have to kind of put them all in the right order, and there's a fair bit of work to it. So Martyn's I sent out pre-built, and it was because it was pre-built, it had to go door-to-door courier, which is, again, it's a really expensive way of doing it. So I've designed it so it can be flat packed, but that one went out.
That one wasn't. Yeah,
I'll make sure to put some pictures up while you were mentioning that, so that people can see how intricate and detailed it is close up, because
that'd be cool.
You put a lot of work into it. It's absolutely beautiful, and when you it looks beautiful when you put the figures in. You put it up on the wall, you put the sheet over the top, but then there's that extra bang when you turn those lights on. Unfortunately, the lighting in here at the moment isn't great. It looks great, don't get me wrong, behind me, but when you're actually looking at it, it's just absolutely spectacular.
I noticed earlier on when I was setting the camera up, I was testing my camera because I don't do these very often. I was testing the camera on my PC and I noticed how bright it is in here because I've got a really shiny fork. But if I turn the lights off, you can't see me.
You won't be able to see. No.
I've got so much plastic in this room now that everything just reflects off everything. I mean, every single figure's in a little case or an acrylic case, and it's just a nightmare to light.
Yeah.
So but you know, it just looks absolutely spectacular.
I really like how you've done that. I've seen quite a few people that lay out the mocks like that, and then stick LEDs along the top under each one as well. I mean, that's a lot of wiring and a lot of LEDs, though.
Yeah, it's in mind, but I'll have to clear it with the boss first because I've spent quite a lot of money on this room in the last few months. So
yeah.
But yeah, I have thought about that. It is a good idea. Adam. Sorry, Adam,
go on. Yeah, no, that's all good. Are most of the displays your ideas, or do you sort of come up with the designs based on people's requests?
It's a bit of both, to be honest. I used to, when I first started, I did a lot of custom cases. And that's kind of how the main selection, because I've got quite a few designs now. There's probably, 40 or something on the website. That have all come at some point from what somebody has requested.
And then once you've built something, it goes onto the website as something that someone can buy in most cases.
The thing is, so I used to do a lot of custom ones. I don't do it so much anymore unless I think I can sell a lot of them, because it takes so much time, and because it's just the whole business is just me. So from design to print to packaging, it's only me that does it. So trying to find the time now to do the custom ones is quite tricky. So a lot of the new designs that I've put out recently, what I'm trying to do is steer away from any licensed products. So I'm not doing so much of the stuff with the logos and the stripes on anymore. And I've come up with 3 kind of standard background images. So you've got like the yellow one that you've got there on the case, the one behind me, which is the hyperspeed one, and then there's like a Starfield one. And those 3 backgrounds I use for lots of different shapes and sizes of case, because I really want to be able to push these to a bigger audience and a bigger market. And I wanted them to be able to stand up on their own, as a feature and a design, rather than it being something that you could say looked like always a licensed product, which it now isn't.
Yeah. Makes sense. Absolutely. I bought one of the I didn't buy it, I was given it as a Christmas present, the Reed 5 book from the guys. The vintage
Red
Kenner
5. Red 5.
That's hard.
Sorry, Red 5. I keep calling it Reed 5. I'm a slightly nightmare.
To be
Sorry,
honest,
guys.
that's the way whenever I see their Instagram handle, I always do it as Reed 5, but you have to say it in your head.
You do. So Adam was obviously perusing your website earlier today, and I did know about it already. But he said, "Oh, did you realise that Drew does a lovely case for your book?" He said, "You should get one of those." I was like, "Oh no, here we go."
It's actually the one that they use to display it at Echo, is it, as well?
Yeah. So shall I? Let me just lift the laptop up. I'll see if I can.
Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah. Oh, you got a special edition cover.
Yeah.
Oh, it's lovely. Yeah.
The one I've got was first release.
Nice.
And I got, because I was designing the cases with them. They sent me all of the different covers, so I've got those as sort of prototypes as well, which is not very nice to have. Although as long as they don't see this and then remember and ask them for them back.
Yes, I mean, your collection in itself is quite amazing. It's sort of coming on. I think I was watching you on the Padawan Collector, saying about how did you get rid of it all and then you started collecting again?
Well, yeah, I got rid of my childhood stuff when I was like 9. Sold it all at a car boot sale at school. For about 40 quid. And I do.
Regrets.
I talk to people sometimes when people come to pick cases up from the house, and they have a look at the collection and they tell me that they've got all of their childhood figures, and I always get so jealous because I would give up all of that collection just for one of my own from being a kid,
Yeah.
But the chances of that are very slim because I didn't mark the feet on mine or anything like that, so I wouldn't even know if. One of them might be mine. You never know.
I was going to say, you never know.
Well, we made the same case with yours, didn't we, Martyn? That you got rid of your childhood collection. You had something like half of the 96.
My mum sold them all in the car boot sale, and she probably didn't get 40 quid for them either.
No.
It was yeah. I don't want to talk about it. It was horrible, but they do things like that because they don't think when you go off to university that or wherever you go to college or you move out, they don't think, do they? But it's all good. It's all good.
And you know what, we didn't know back then either that they were going to be worth so much money either.
No.
You wouldn't.
I imagine the figures we had as kids were played with pretty much quite a lot. I know that we didn't. So between me and all my friends, none of us had very many. I probably had about 15 figures, I think, something like that. But we all made sure that we got different ones, so that together we all had like a pretty much a whole collection.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. That's really good. Yeah, I never had a vehicle. Not one vehicle when I was a kid, because we basically we just couldn't afford. I know they're cheap in today's comparison, but and I think that stayed with me as an adult, because I don't, about 10 years ago I started collecting all the old Kenner vehicles, but in boxes.
Right.
And it was I think that was what sparked up, because I've been collecting all my life, but in the last 10 years I've kind of really gone mad again, and I think that's what sparked it off, is the fact that I saw one, I think at a Comic-Con in London. I was like, I've always wanted one of those as a kid, and then I bought one, and then that started me off, unfortunately. But there you go.
Well, I was the same, Martyn. To be honest, I had an X-wing and I had an ATST. And that was it, really. So I've gone all out on the vehicles now. You probably can't see.
So. I was watching your Days of Christmas each day that you put out over Christmas, and it was
really good fun doing that, actually. Because to be honest, my collection up until probably the last year, it's always been a bit here and there. I was collecting the figures, and that was it, really. But since I put my last figure in the case, I've gone mad with everything else.
Yeah. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I saw one of the cases that you'd put together with your vehicles. You'd recreated the scene. Was it the AT-AT? You recreated the scene that was on the box. That was absolutely brilliant. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Oh, that's so good. That is so good. And that's one of your cases as well, is it?
That is, yeah.
It's one of the tabletop ones, or
that's it. Yeah. So it's like
oh no, I can feel an itch starting.
Well, this is the thing, you see, 'cause loads of people wanted custom sized acrylic boxes, so I was doing it, but it's a really expensive way of doing it because you're making each one each time, and the delivery is massively expensive because you're just transporting air. So I came up with a modular system where I can do basically any size case from 100 square up to 600 by 500 by 500. So I keep all the panels in stock, and you just slot them all together, put a lid on.
Yeah, that's amazing, because I can imagine someone out there has probably got the back of or the front of every Kenner box recreated in one of those, because that would look so good. I just wish I had another room, but
get rid of the spare room.
That's the problem, isn't it? That's why the only downside, and this is, I probably shouldn't say this, but the only downside with putting loose vehicles in cases, is if you're limited on space, it ends up taking too much space. So you can see, like from these ones, I haven't got these in cases. Because if I had them in cases, I wouldn't be able to fit them all on there.
No.
Yeah.
But
it's
nice to have a bit of variety, though, isn't it? I think
It is,
So yeah, I can see the ones behind you as well. They look really nice on that table underneath the case with all the figures in. It's quite an epic room you've got there, I've got to say.
It
I
really
do
is.
love it.
I mean,
love
it's
it.
amazing that you get to sort of display them so elegantly as well, because you got that know-how to build these things. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. Do you have a particular favourite in your collection?
Yes, I have. And I'll tell you what, I've got a couple of favourites actually.
Cool.
let me show you. So I recently started on a new run, which is, I don't know if you can see these. These are Takara Japanese carded diecast.
Oh yes, I can see it.
So there's only 5 in the set. So I've got the X-Wing and the R2 at the moment.
Oh wow.
But they are extraordinarily hard to come by. So I've got those 2, and like I said, there's 5 in the set, and I'm trying to get the rest of them. And then this is another favourite of mine. Hang on.
Oh yeah, I saw this on your Instagram. This is amazing.
Yeah. So that's the script page from Empire where they find Luke and Han.
Wow.
That I got from Nick Maley, who was one of the main engineers on Yoda.
That's wow.
And then the other day I got this, and this is just, I think I might have just muted you then. This is really good. So
cool.
That is basically the last line that is on that page of script. So I'm just waiting to try and mount that above that page of script. And then also
you've got the crew shirts there as well. I mean, that's got to be rare, that Revenge of the Jedi t-shirt. Or that's just wow.
So I've got the Revenge one there, and then a good friend of mine bought this for me as a gift.
Wow.
From the prop store, and I framed it all. I framed these myself because it cost a fortune to ask someone else to do it. And if you've got the stuff, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. The text scroll as well, the other side of or behind the laptop.
Is that a blind?
No, it's got a blind behind it.
Okay,
right.
It's actually just a Fomex panel that I printed.
Okay.
And I've got wedged in there because the blind wasn't blocking enough light out for my taste. So I just thought, well, I might as well block the whole thing in.
Might I suggest a line of cruel blinds for you to sell? Because that's a really great idea.
Yeah.
Funny you should ask. I have the capability to do it, and it might be something I do. I don't know.
Yeah. Because in front of me, obviously you can't see. I'm in a window bay at the moment, and I've got blackout blinds. But of course, blackout blinds are great, but they still have the sides,
the edges.
You can never get them right to the edges, and the top as well. There's always a gap at the top.
Yeah.
So
that kind of completes the room as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Having that text scroll, that's so cool.
I suppose the only thing is I can't put a lot of stuff in front of it on that. So I made an extra deep window ledge so that I could put stuff on the bottom, but it covers up the words, so I can only put really small stuff on it.
That's brilliant. There was one thing in your collection, I hope you don't mind me asking about. Now, the original trilogy for me, one of the many reasons it's so great is the fact that there's so many great background characters in the original trilogy that you love all the main characters, but there's also these background characters. And one of my favorite characters, it's kind of a weird one, was Admiral Piet from Empire and Jedi. And I noticed in one of your collections you've got this officer's cap.
Yes,
and can you tell us a bit more about that? Because this is just for my benefit, not the viewers. Because I just, I'm like, well, I've got to know about this. Because I loved him as an Imperial officer, and I really like the Imperial officer outfits. And is that an actual prop replica, or
it's not?
No.
Well, sorry, it is a prop replica. Back in the day, there was, I don't know if you saw it, there's a magazine in the back of there called Starlog, which was a popular magazine for us geeks back then.
I remember it.
And they were a company called the Thinking Cap Company. were doing, so you could either get the Imperial Guard cap or like a baseball cap with a Rebel logo on it.
Yeah.
So there's not masses of them around, but they're not, you know, it's not a movie used prop, but it is a prop replica and it is an original vintage. But what I did was I managed to get hold of the magazine that advertised the cap.
Yeah.
So I've got the magazine in there, and I scanned the advert and then printed and mounted the advert out. So I've got the advert next to it with the cap itself, but still this means the magazine's still in its original condition. I felt like I wouldn't be able to live with myself just cutting a square out.
Yeah, it's a great piece, and it's, you know, there's a bit of history there, you know, and as you say, history from when we were young, you know, that's absolutely great. It's one of my favorite pieces.
And that shows that you put a lot of thought into the display as well. Is that sort of something? Yeah. Do you make suggestions if people are asking for something? Yeah.
I've done a few really nice ones that are so. Have you heard of Ladro, the Spanish sculpt company? So they do porcelain sculptures, fully licensed. They did a really beautiful limited run of Darth Vader. I think they only did like 1,500 of this particular one. And someone asked me for a case for it, so we designed a bespoke sized case with internal lights that are completely invisible. Nice. And it looks really, really dramatic. Yeah. I think there's a picture on the website of it somewhere. But yeah, I always make suggestions if I feel like I can add something. Definitely. So I do a case for a sand crawler, and the base is actually real sand. So I spend a lot of time mixing up glues and resins and making the base, and then I airbrush it so that it blends into the background, and then there's a background print.
Yeah. Awesome.
And the first one I did of those, I said, right, we'll put the sandcrawler in, and then let's be honest, what you need is loads of Jawas and C-3PO holding them and putting them all on a big pile. You've got to do it, haven't you?
Absolutely. That's brilliant. I mean, the other good thing about that as well, I suppose, is the fact that, you know, I'm sure you have people that come round and have a look in your room, whether they like Star Wars or they're familiar with it, or, you know, they're not really too bothered. And the great thing about the way you've displayed them, and, you know, even, you know, the way I've got things in here, and if you've got a Star Wars in general, is if you have it in a certain way, people are interested, and, you know, having how you laid out how you've got it, you've got the history of what you've got with the actual item itself. So it acts not a museum, I suppose, but I suppose maybe a little bit of a museum sort of piece.
It is a little bit, and I kind of, that's really what I wanted to go for, is a mixture of museum and being able to pick stuff up. But I've really started concentrating on the history stuff now. With that cap and the crew shirts and things like that. I'm really interested in trying to go into that a little bit more. My main problem is I've completely run out of space.
I was just going to say, how are you fixed for space there?
Well, this room, believe it or not, is only about 3 meters square, and it is pretty much rammed now. I've even got, I mean, I can't see. I've even got.
Oh, that's the coffee table, isn't it? That's lovely.
In the middle of it, there.
That might be my favourite piece in the room. I've seen that. Yeah.
So I've only got about, I don't know, probably 1.5 foot, 18 inches around that table, and then it's the wall. But
constantly banging your shins.
Yeah. So I'm waiting for my son to move out at the minute, and then we've got another room. But what I didn't want to do was split it across 2 rooms. So this room will end up being something else, and I'll move the whole collection into the other room, which is a bit bigger.
Yeah.
I just think with it all in one place, it's nicer than spreading it around.
Absolutely. Yeah, we had our garage converted a couple of years ago, to sort of as a space for, you know, just a nice space where we can, you know, we've got a treadmill that we use out there every now and again, you know, and it's not like the dusty garage anymore. It's like a nice garage, and it's bigger than my room's actually probably about the same as your 3x3. And I keep saying to my wife, you know, it's such a waste. We don't really ever go in the garage, you know. It's such a shame, because it's all nicely, you know, sorted in there, so there wouldn't be any moisture and stuff. And I'm constantly saying, it'd be nice if we could have, because this is our study. I say our study, and I would say it'd be nice to have our study back, wouldn't it? Trying to put the hints out there that the garage could possibly be a new option, but I'm not getting anywhere with it at the moment. But we can try.
Just keep plugging away. Keep plugging away.
Exactly.
Funnily enough, I am in our old garage. This is
wow!
All right.
Yeah, so I did this. This front part is the front part of the garage, and then behind that wall we've got a utility room. So we've basically we went all the way through, and then in front of me I'm facing the window, so we just blocked it all in and lined it out.
Yeah, nice. That's great.
Yeah, so and it was worth it, to be honest, because I mean, whoever uses a garage to put a car in?
Wow, no one.
I don't know anybody. Yeah, and if you don't use it you just end up chucking rubbish in there, and it just gets filled up, doesn't it? So
like my garage,
The only slight issue I have now is that all of my tools are at the workshop. So if I ever need to do any work in the house, I'm screwed. I have to go to work and get all my gear and bring it back.
Well, that does work as a convenience excuse at the weekends, I suppose.
That's true.
Wish I could do that.
I've got one more question about your collection, Drew. And it's, is there something on your list that you don't have yet that you're desperate to get?
Oh, good question.
So I would say it's probably of those Takara, the Japanese small cards I'm trying to get, the Land Speeder, one of those. So I think on average they're 200 or 300 quid each. But the Land Speeder, I think last one I saw was 1,200 quid. So I don't know what it's made of, or whether they just didn't make as many of that one. But it's like hen's teeth. So I would love to get one of those. I have got a lovely fella called Rob Liparelli who is in Japan. He's got a shop in Japan, and he sourced the last one of those for me. So he keeps his eye out, and basically, if one turns up in the shop, he gives me a shout. So,
but before we round things up, you mentioned that you're going to be taking one of these cases to Echo in April.
Yeah. So, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, I was going to say if you want to say what people want to come.
I'm going to be at Echo Live in April, and I will have one of those cases, and it will be filled with all of the figures. Not in graded cases. They will actually be in. So the sizes I've used on there were based on GW Acrylic's new figure cases, which look like grading cases, but they're actually they're very slightly bigger than the standard grading cases that you get. So what it means is that all of GW stuff will fit in, but because they fit in, all of the graded stuff
everything will fit
in as well. So it just makes it even more flexible. And if people want to go for maybe a slightly cheaper option than graded, they can go for the figure cases, and they will all fit in there as well. So Christian from GW is going to bring his entire collection cased, and then we're going to spend most of our time putting them in the display,
and then surround it by security guards.
Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, I hope as many people who are going to Echo. Unfortunately, Adam and I, this will be our first Echo we're going to miss.
No.
We went. Yeah, I'm really upset.
Well, I mean, Adam you say that we've only been to the last two. Like...
Well, okay, sorry, the last we okay. The first one we've missed since last year, but
since we started doing this,
I really wholeheartedly suggest that people, go and take a look at this thing.
Absolutely.
And you're right, those GW acrylic cases would look equally as nice in there, and even maybe a cheaper option for me, Adam, if I bought some loose ones and just put them in those. And
I don't think that's going to happen, though, is it? You wouldn't be able to live with yourself if you didn't have
I'm too OCD, I'm afraid.
That's great.
I'd have to print the stickers off myself and put them in the case to make it look like they were graded, because my OCD would kick in massively. But
you know what, though? You'd end up giving them all 95s, wouldn't you?
Headless ones, ones without arms. This was a rare variant. This one, that's why I got a 95. Dear. Oh dear.
Brilliant. Well, we won't keep you any longer, Drew. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much.
I'm sure we could have spoken for hours. We could talk about all this for hours, couldn't we? But
absolutely,
we won't do that. So yeah, I'm sure a lot of the viewers out there would have seen collector displays on Instagram or Facebook, and you're on YouTube as well, are you? Do you still use YouTube?
Yeah, there's a YouTube channel which I basically use for when I'm doing instructional videos.
That's right. Yeah.
So you can see the process of how they're put together and stuff on the YouTube channel. But if you want to keep up to date with anything new I'm doing, Instagram is the one. Instagram and Facebook. So follow me on that.
Brilliant. Yeah, we'll leave
website
all
details.
of that. Yeah, we'll leave all the information in the description for everyone to see.
Great stuff.
Otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers, Drew.
Cheers.
Thanks.
See you later.
Cheers.
Bye.